What do bank robberies, angry girlfriends, and Super Bowl rings have in common? Stay tuned to find out next. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Sanctuary, a YouTube channel dedicated to all things sports that's going to bring you all up-to-date news coverage, in-depth analysis, and comical hot takes that should be good for a few laughs. So if you're a diehard sports fan who's looking for weekly sports content, please do me a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you can be alerted anytime I drop a video. But now that's all out of the way, let's get to today's video and talking about the Super Bowl ring heist. I want you to go back to February 3rd, 2008. There was a minute left in Super Bowl 42. The New England Patriots, Tom Brady's undefeated New England Patriots, needed one defensive stop to beat the New York Giants. On third down, multiple Patriot defenders pushed through the line, grabbed quarterback Eli Manning's jersey. But Manning slipped away and he chucked a wobbly pass downfield where a mediocre receiver, David Tyree, leapt and pinned the ball against his helmet and somehow hung onto it as he crashed down to the turf. Manning, the interception-prone doofus with a look of confused joy, would go on to beat Brady in the sport's biggest game that year. Somewhere far away, a man named Sean Murphy seethed as he watched from his weed dealer's couch. Skinny, with deep-set brown eyes, Murphy was a typical Patriots fan. He pronounced cars as cars, got his coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, and had a mullet and a horseshoe mustache. At least when his girlfriend didn't make him clean it up, that is. He moved furniture for a living. And on Sundays, when he could get tickets, he made the 40-mile drive to Foxborough to root on his Pats. But there was another side to Murph, as his friends called him. On Saturday nights, he'd put on an all-black ninja suit and went out looking for things to steal. He was a cat burglar, the best in a town where burglary was still regarded as an art form. And it just so happens that a few weeks after that fateful Super Bowl game, Murphy was at the Boston Public Library browsing the internet and planning his next break-in when he came across an article about the Giants' Super Bowl rings. It was through this article that he learned that the Giants were having 150 Super Bowl rings made that year, enough for the players, the front office, and the owners' families. He also learned that the rings were going to be manufactured by a company called Dion Incorporated, which was a family-owned jeweler in Attleboro, Massachusetts, which is 2 towns south of Foxborough. After a dark June 8th, Murphy and a friend slinked behind the company's office and workshop. The industrial park was surrounded by a deserted area, and it was so quiet that they could hear cars pass on the highway half a mile away. They wore their usual black jumpsuits, black gloves, black booties over their shoes, and black masks with slits cut out for their eyes. And they carried crowbars, power saws, drills, and a cell phone jammer. They climbed onto the roof. Murphy found the outlet, plugged in the jammer, and turned it on. His accomplice walked the perimeter, trying to make calls with the burner cell phone as he went. No signal? Perfect. With that established, Murphy leaned over the edge and cut a black wire coming from a telephone pole. Then he plugged in a drill and a power saw and started going to work on the roof itself. The grinding of metal on metal echoed through the industrial park, but once he completed the square hole, he jumped down into the building onto the shop floor. Once inside the building, Murphy and his body found gold rings, gold necklaces, gold plates, boxes of gold beads, and drawers full of melted down gold. Unable to crack the safe, they lifted it onto a jack and pushed it through a loading dock onto a 20-foot box truck. Murphy was sweeping gold dust off of one of the workstations when his accomplice came out of an office, his hands glittering with diamonds. There was a Super Bowl ring engraved Strahan and a few others that read Manny. By the time Murphy had finished loading up the box truck, he had more than $2 million worth of gold and jewelry and more than 24 Super Bowl rings. "Fuck them. They don't deserve them," is what he said to his accomplice on the way out. When Murphy got home, he spread the haul out on his bed where his girlfriends could admire it and even gave one of the rings to one of these girlfriends. Not long after this, the burglary made the news, which of course made Murphy ecstatic. "A giant heist" was the New York Post headline. "Giant jewel heist baffles FBI," wrote the Boston Herald. Some writers even joked that the Patriots' Belichick was the prime suspect in the case. But the downside to all of this notoriety meant that Murphy couldn't sell his rings. So he stashed his share in a safe deposit box and sold, traded, or gave away most of the rest of the loot that he got from the heist within a few months. Eventually, this decision to brag about his heist to his girlfriends would come back to haunt him though. In October, one of Murphy's main girlfriends finally lost it and got pissed over one of Murphy's other girlfriends, and she ended up keying the word slut onto the hood of one of his cars. From there, a scuffle ensued, and Murphy was charged with domestic assault and battery, but was allowed to remain free for some unknown reason. I don't know, white privilege, huh? Go figure. But he figured he'd make it up with Brown. He'd make up with her before the case reached a trial. Unfortunately for him, he was wrong. A few months after this, on January 15, 2009, FBI agents who were investigating the heist and Murphy as the suspect approached this girlfriend at the courthouse. They told her that they wanted to talk to her about her boyfriend, Sean Murphy, and they expected her to be very unhelpful. But as it turns out, her relationship with Murphy had soured at this point, and she basically told them everything they wanted to know. She told them how Murphy had bragged about his burglary skills, showed off his ninja suit and his cell phone jammer. She also said Murphy had talked about doing something big that summer, and she even gave the feds what they needed most. Her eyewitness testimony saying that she saw Murphy give one of the Super Bowl rings to one of his other girlfriends. After this, the feds would eventually catch up to him after he committed a huge heist against a Brinks armored truck depot, which landed him in prison with a $3 million bail. After about a year, he was ready to make a deal though. Given temporary immunity to negotiate a plea agreement, he confessed to everything. He gave up tips about other burglars. He even sat down and videotaped an interview about his techniques for the FBI to show new agents. In exchange for this, the best deal prosecutors offered Murphy was about 10 years in prison for the Brinks burglary if he pleaded guilty, and then a trial with more prison time likely for the Super Bowl ring heist at EA Dion. Murphy wasn't about to accept that though. His first lawyer quit after realizing Murphy wanted to try his luck in front of a jury. And then when his replacement told him to take the deal, Murphy decided he was gonna represent himself. On October 17, 2011, Murphy stood at the lectern in an Ohio courtroom dressed in a shirt and slacks from Men's Warehouse for the occasion, with a remote control shock band around his cap to make sure he didn't run away. He spent the night in his cell writing an opening statement. It was a tricky situation for him. Under the plea bargaining rules, his confession couldn't be used against him in this case, unless he contradicted himself in court first. That meant he couldn't directly deny committing the crime when his accomplices pleaded guilty and agreed to testify against him, with one of them saying, "We only got caught because he gave a fucking 20-year-old girl a Super Bowl ring. Fuck him." Murphy decided to argue that he was, more or less, a burglary professor who was being set up by his pupils. "Have many of you ever seen the new movie The Town?" he asked the jury, referring to one of his favorite films. He told them that his hometown of Lynn was full of professional burglars, like Boston's Charleston neighborhood in the Ben Affleck movie. The prosecutor Salvador Dominguez just had the wrong guy, he argued. Eventually, though, the jury found Murphy guilty on all charges, and the judge sentenced him to 20 years in federal prison, which was reduced to 13 years on an appeal. Murphy has been in prison since 2009 and is still in jail at the time of this video, with just under another year left to go on his sentence. It'll be interesting to see what happens next when he gets out. He said he was going to write a book, try to do a movie. You know how people try to cash in on these charter deals. But I will be very interested to see what happens, so stay tuned. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today's greatest moments in sports history. I want to know what you guys think about this story. Was it funny? Have you heard it before? What are your biggest takeaways? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And if you found any entertainment value in this video, please drop a like, share the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. But that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Peace.